You know the man who shouts, "Shoot 'em"?
Oh, it's a tree shaker! It's a big one! Woo!
Turns out the real danger wasn't the gators. Troy Landry had 3 close calls with death. 3 moments that almost ended the legend forever. And somehow producers kept filming like nothing happened. The first nearly killed him on camera. The second required emergency surgery. The third? Well, that one almost destroyed his entire family. But here's what's crazy. You never saw any of it on Swamp People. He became a TV icon, but that spotlight came with a price. He was born for the swamp. Literally. In Pierre Part, Louisiana, Troy Landry grew up in a family of gator hunters going back 5 generations. Life wasn't glamorous. It was rough, dirty, dangerous. The kind of life where survival wasn't a storyline, it was just Tuesday. But everything changed in 2010. The History Channel turned his everyday into entertainment. People laughed at the idea of a gator hunting show, but the moment Troy hit the screen, he stole the spotlight. Therefore, Swamp People became a hit. And Troy, a legend. He didn't act. He didn't pretend. He just showed up. But with fame came pressure. Therefore, the man who never flinched started to crack. One shoot, something felt wrong. He collapsed on set. At first, everyone thought it was just a stunt. Troy joked a lot, but this time was different. There was blood soaking through his shirt. Rushed to the hospital, doctors found a puncture wound. Deep, infected, life-threatening. His wife, Bernita, stood by as Troy, the invincible Gator King, was rolled into surgery. He pulled through, but weeks earlier he'd been fighting prostate cancer. Therefore, his body was already worn down. And yet, he refused to quit because the swamp waits for no one. Then came the accident. No explanation, no footage, just a cryptic message from the family. Prayers needed, fans speculated. Rumors spread. Was this the end of his run? Troy returned, but something had changed. He moved slower, spoke less, smiled less. But instead of resting, he went back to work. Therefore, questions started piling up. And then the state stepped in. The sting operation hit like a gut punch. Louisiana officials had been watching. Troy was busted in an undercover sting, charged with tagging violations. He denied it. But they had proof. He'd used illegal tags and released an unregistered gator. Therefore, his boat was seized. He was fined. His image shaken. To some fans, it was a setup. To others, a betrayal. But what shocked everyone? Nothing happened. No press release, no public fallout, just silence. Troy returned to Swamp People like nothing had ever happened. But the trust? It was fractured. Then came the worst blow. And it had nothing to do with hunting. Troy's infant grandson, Crew, was diagnosed with biliary atresia, a rare liver condition. At just 8 months old, he needed a transplant or he'd die. February 2025, they got a liver, but the size didn't match. Crew's body rejected it. Therefore, the family waited, exhausted, devastated, and desperate. June, a second chance. This one worked. Crew survived, but the Landry family was broken in ways no camera could capture. And then, things got even stranger. News broke. Brandon Landry is dead. Headlines went viral. Tributes poured in. Fans mourned. Even former cast members posted condolences. But there was one problem. Brandon wasn't dead. It was a completely different man. Same name, same state, total coincidence. Therefore, Troy had to watch the world bury his stepson, while Brandon was standing next to him alive. Through it all, Troy never stopped. Not for cancer, not for surgery, not for scandal, not even for the death rumors. He just kept showing up. Why? Is it obsession, stubbornness, loyalty? Or maybe Troy Landry doesn't know how to stop. Maybe when you grow up fighting to survive, rest feels like weakness. The swamp gave him everything, but it took a piece of him every single time. He's not a myth. He's not a meme. He's a man. A man who's bled in silence, suffered off camera, and still shows up when the sun rises over that muddy water. So the next time you hear him yell, "Shoot 'em!" remember this. That cry didn't come from confidence. It came from pain.